Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Sunday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Thanks for tuning in, hanging out with us. We appreciate all of you. Another winnable game slips to the soft grasp of the Syracuse Orange. Wake Forest pulls off a 77-74 win in overtime. You'll hear from us, and we'll hear from you and fan feedback. And Syracuse will be back in the Dome to face Pitt this Tuesday at 7 o'clock. This is the way it's scheduled right now. It'll be on ESPNU. We'll let you know what we think about that. The first of 3 games at the Dome, that's good. That's exactly what they need right now, I think.
Yeah.
So they need some other things too. But hey, another rough one. Another game plagued with a different sort of problem. And that's 3 in a row. We can point to 3 different things. All things pretty well within Syracuse's power to eliminate for the most part. And they just got to be better. Closing out games is a problem. So let's hear what Coach had to say after the loss.
Losing Jesse early like that, he's a couple of fouls he just can't commit. One of them I don't think he did foul, but a couple of them he just can't reach in and be involved in that play. We need him in the game. I thought when he went out, I thought everybody pulled together, and I thought we did a great job defensively without him in there. And we gave ourselves an opportunity to win the game. You got to get the ball in bounds with 11 seconds to go. And if you can't do that, it's a problem. They're a really good team. We did a really good job of getting on their shooters in the second half and making it difficult for them to get open shots. And certainly played well enough to win, but we have to get the ball in bounds at the end of the game. That's it. Cole's got to be a little bit more aggressive offensively. Jesse's a big part of what we can do out there, and so we need him in the game for that. But again, we're doing enough to win both these games, and we just can't quite get there. But I thought overall we were okay defensively going small. And it gives us a little advantage at the other end that they have to guard Jimmy with a bigger guy. And he got a couple buckets getting to the basket and got a 3 open look. So it gives us a little advantage sometimes on the offensive end. But in that situation, I think I'm disappointed that Benny can't get back in there and rebound and help us defensively. And I thought on the offensive boards, I thought there were some opportunities he could have gone to the offensive boards and gotten some opportunities. But, he's learning. We just got to keep working with him.
They tied the season high with 20 fouls in regulation. How important are those fouls in a close game that you guys lose in overtime?
It was game changing for us. It's something obviously I played a big part in. I got too many too quick, and it's something that's been going better the last couple of games, and now obviously I had a rough time staying out of foul trouble, and it's something I can't be doing anymore, and it obviously hurt us, and it was something we'll have to keep working on. Yeah.
All right, the Coach Montage is brought to us by the Spotify Green Room app. Go to your iOS or Android stores and download the app. It is free. All you need to sign up is a username, an email address, and a password. You can follow us at Cuse Militia. go ahead and sign up for notifications. So when we go live during fan feedback, you will get notified and you can come in and you can listen, you can chat, or you can request to speak. If you do so, and I approve it, unmute yourself with the microphone icon on your picture, on your profile picture there, and go ahead and say your piece. And there are plenty of other options. There's plenty of other people and topics to follow on the Spotify Green Room app. It's a really easy way for us to get the fan feedback from you, and as well as you to just listen live. You can listen to the flubs. We've been known to flub on the Spotify Green Room app once in a while, But it's free. Go to your iOS or Android stores now and download the app. It's free. I mentioned it's free. All right, Joe. Let's start at the top of this thing. Turnovers. Let's start at the top of this thing here. Okay. Jesse, gone much too early in this game. Obviously, with 9 minutes left, that was an issue. Only played 20 altogether, having to sit, with foul trouble, throughout the game. Got too many too quickly. You heard Jesse at the end of that there. We'll hit, we might as well couple this with that. He's aware. Okay. I think it's fair to say that there was a couple bad fouls on Jesse. The one that he fouled out on. I mean, with 4 fouls, you can't do that. Plain and simple. Just let it go. Let it go and live to fight some more minutes. I mean, that's how I look at that, Joe. So, I don't know what else to say. There are big guys constantly struggle with fouls, so it's a thing. But the most brutal part of this game is inbounding the ball with 11 seconds, and we could talk about the actual inbounding of the ball and how they were going about doing it, or we can talk about how the call, and that's a critique for Syracuse, and it's a critique for TV Teddy and his crew. I thought Buddy was fouled, but they didn't call that. I mean, it's kind of a there was no clear evidence, obviously, so you can't turn that over, I suppose, since it was called. Wake's ball didn't look like it touched Buddy, but just a horrible way to end that game when in regulation, when you think, okay, all they got to do is pretty much inbound this ball and get it to someone that can shoot some free throws, and we can go down and just ice this thing. And no, couldn't do it. Couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually a situation where, you might call it wrong, but usually you can get it right through that. And a lot of times in basketball, I mean, I saw it even a couple times in this game, right, where they didn't call a foul. I mean, you see it all the time, right, where you have something where maybe 2 guys are going for a rebound, right, and this guy goes over the back, comes in out of control or whatever, and maybe the ball goes off of somebody else, but it's like you didn't call the foul. You could have called the foul. So a lot of times the ref will understand that, well, if this guy didn't come in and, you know what I mean? Like they'll offset.
If he didn't come in and tackle him, he could have probably got the inbounds pass.
Right. So usually they offset the calls, right? So, in my mind, they go to the monitor there, and albeit the fact that there wasn't a clear view of, who the ball went out of, you can see Walton's hand coming in and swatting it out. So that there's probably a good chance, especially on how confident Buddy was acting as far as, the replay when it happened to begin with. But when you go back and look at it and you see, a 7-foot, 240-pound guy diving into Buddy's legs trying to hit the ball out, like, you have to understand that that's kind of like a move of desperation where it's either going to be an obvious, like, knock the ball out of bounds or get a steal, or it's going to be a foul one way or another because they needed another foul to put them to the free throw line. So that's how they were going to play it. And when you're a ref there, I mean, you got to, even if you miss the first call, you got to make it right if you go to the scores table. And after going back and looking, there's no doubt in my mind that there shouldn't have been a situation where they looked at it and they said, okay, well, we missed that foul, and we can see a situation here where this probably went out, and if he didn't do this and foul Buddy, then Buddy probably would have got the ball tight. So that was their place to make it right, and they didn't. And unfortunately, Wake Forest goes on and makes a basket. And, it's one of those things where you don't want to 100% blame it on the refs, because obviously we still had a chance to play defense and stop them from scoring, and then it still went into overtime, and we still had a chance to win in overtime. But there was another bad call in overtime. So
you're talking about the Swider shot, right?
Yeah, when we had the air ball there.
Yeah, Swider's air ball
barely hit the rim, and then he got the ball and went back,
yes.
and we ended up getting a shot clock violation because he didn't hit the rim. But there's a reason why he didn't hit the rim. So realistically, and even if Buddy gets called the foul there, right, and he goes to the line, who's to say he makes the first one, or he only makes one and they don't come down and get a three? Sure, but like, to have a situation where you're up 2 and Buddy should be going to the free throw line with about 9-10 seconds to go, and have a chance to make it get it up 4 and pretty much ice the game, to turning into what it did, all because of just a really, really bad call. And to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, I felt like there was a lot of things being called all day. That Alondes Williams, great player, great hustler, but he got everything. He got every call.
He did.
And
how many and ones did that dude have?
Right.
I mean,
he's the one that's putting his arm out and getting the contact from these players and stuff. He's the one that's influencing the contact. He's the one that's initiating the contact, and then we get the calls because we're a little bit bigger because he's 6'4". He's strong. He can finish, but he got every single call. And how many times did Buddy go to the hole and he got hit a couple times, albeit whether he made it or not, and they didn't call anything. So the foul disparity was also obviously pretty bad when you look at it. It was 21-11 at the end, and realistically, you're looking at a situation where they fouled on purpose and then went to overtime too, right? So, I mean, I believe it was like 9-3, I think, in the first half, and then at some point it was like
15-7 at one point, or 16-7 at one point.
Like all together, yeah, it was probably worse than that because I think it got to 9-5, and then that's why they had to foul twice to get us to the free throw line at the end. So, at the end of the game when they were trying to follow us, when
they had 2 fouls to give at the end of the
right,
game.
And they only had 3 at halftime.
Right.
So throughout the whole game, basically, they only got 8 fouls called on them. Then they had the one that they got to try to, the first foul, and then the second one didn't get called, so they probably got 2 more fouls called on overtime. So overall, it was probably somewhere around a 19-8 if it would have probably went, or 19-9 if they would have called that foul and Buddy would have went to the free throw line. That's around about what it would have been. So we're just lucky Wake Forest missed free throws.
Yeah, altogether 16 for 25. Yeah. And when you look at it, we got to the line 14 times. That Alondes Williams, he shot 4 for 8 from the line, which was, he's obviously a talented dude. I feel like he could have probably done better than that. I don't know what he was averaging coming in, but okay. Cole needs to be more aggressive offensively, you heard Coach say, and obviously we're still kind of waiting for this, and a little disappointed I am at this point with Cole Swider. Just in general, he was really strong in exhibition stuff, and then I just don't know. I mean, he had maybe 1 or 2 decent games. He came on late against, was it Miami or Virginia? Came on real late, scoring. Miami, yeah. And too little too late there, but we're still kind of waiting for him to make himself, an integral part of the offense. And that's why he was brought here. And with, 10 points, I don't know. That's not doing enough in 40 minutes for him being supposedly this offensive threat. And the reason
he had 14 rebounds.
He did too. That's excellent. Yeah. No, I mean, that's awesome.
He only shot 2 of 4 from the 3-point line. So I think really some of it is like he just has not been used to having to be called on when he played Villanova. Now he's on the team, and I think that he showed some life obviously early in the exhibition and the non-conference and stuff. But obviously, you got up in the competition, up in the size of the players you're going against, and I mean, it just seems to me like he's really waiting kind of just for the kickouts and some of the open shots more than he's actually trying to find his own shot. There's one time I think yesterday where he drove, kind of got near that, the paint area and made a jumper. And then there was another time he did the same thing and it got blocked. So, there's some things he's got to work on there. But overall, we see an offense where we're mostly jump shooters and we need help when we can get mismatches and get into the lane and getting some easy twos.
Duke. I'll get to that in a second. Look, the past 2 games were, extremely winnable. I would say Coach mentions the last 2. Now, I would mention probably the last 3. Yeah. So, you heard Coach say can't quite get there. Like I mentioned at the Open, and just struggling to close games out. I mean, Syracuse has just got to find a way, and they're having trouble finding a way. And it seems like everything, let's see, the game against Miami was the turnovers. By the way, Miami's just that team. I think they're that good. And we played Miami really good. They beat Duke in Cameron last night, and they turned Duke over 17 times. They turned us over 19 times. I think it's worth mentioning. So, they're legit. And they are a talented team. I watched that game last night, and they blew me away. So, no shame in that game. The 19 turnovers still unacceptable. I'm not justifying it, but finding ways to close out these games was just exactly what Coach had said and what we brought up first, and that's getting that ball in. You got to get the ball in. Get the ball in, the game's over. Like something as simple as an inbounds pass just killed this game for us.
You're right, and honestly, like I said, it's going to be hard to say one way or another because he's not going to come out and blame it on the refs. But I mean, that to me, that's the refs' fault. I mean, whether or not you can say it'd be a better pass one way or another, like what I saw should have been a foul. What I saw should have been Buddy going to the line. And it's funny that you mentioned that because, like, again, I don't think that Boeheim he really counts the Virginia game because obviously there were some free throws and stuff, but we shot pretty well. It was just their defense. Virginia's defense was really good. Our offense couldn't figure it out. And like we said, I feel like Miami, we took kind of a little bit of a stride in figuring out how to score once they, double team Buddy. But Miami, they just turned us over too much, and they finished at the end. They hit their free throws and everything. Now yesterday we didn't shoot that well, but we had less turnovers. We had more rebounds.
By 7 on the rebounds.
Right. So, and really, when you get down to it, I mean, from what I saw, Wake Forest, they looked like a team. Now, I think they're a good team. Obviously, they put together a team of, 4 guys that are, transfers from the transfer portal. So they're still trying to figure it out. But those 4 guys plus Musius is pretty much their team right now. And they're pretty good. And I can only see them getting a little bit better. So they're a legit team. But at the end, it looked actually like they were the ones that were uncomfortable. It looked like Wake Forest was the one that was going to not be able to hit the free throws and was going to pump fake and the ball was going to go out of bounds and have turnovers. I mean, if you look at it, Wake Forest, to me, blew that game at the end of the game. We were the team that looked like we were actually handling it a little bit better until, in my opinion, the refs took it away. I mean, when you look at the discrepancies in fouls, plus would you look at that last play, obviously Jim Boeheim can't come out and blame the refs. He'll get fined. But I am worried about a game every single time I see Ted Valentine reffing it when it comes to Syracuse, and it just seems to me like and I've explained it before about the type of defenses and the pressure and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
with the foul,
for some reason, it just seems like the foul discrepancy in the margin when he refs us, it just seems like we always lose the fouls. The other team always shoots more free throws, and to me, it looked like we were finally going to break through and finish a game and actually, because another team actually made a bunch of mistakes near the end and missed free throws because Wake Forest 100% could have put that game away, but they just continually made mistake after mistake just for the refs to kind of take it out of our hands at the end. 2:00 game yesterday. It was a rough day all around from about 4:30 on yesterday because they deserve that W. And I feel bad because obviously we have a fan base that doesn't expect a team at this point to be sub 500. But when you look at all the analytics, the statistics, even the people that know what they're talking about, the analysts and stuff, they still look at Syracuse as a good team who's had one hell of a schedule and, just some unfortunate games here that just aren't going their way. And yesterday was just another way. It's a different way.
Yeah, it was a different way. Right, exactly. And it's like the stars have to align for Syracuse to win. They don't have a very big window for the margin of error. They have to be almost perfect to pull these games off. Now, of course, that's a bit hyperbole, but that's how it feels at this point. These past 3 games. So I told you I would keep the stats and try to update as necessary for some of the just totals for the season so far for Syracuse. And they are up in rebounds, by the way. They are climbing and clawing their way up. I can't remember exactly where they were. I wish I'd have kept it, but it was 120 or something like that. They're 84th now in total rebounds. The one thing I noticed is the 3 defensive stats, the 3 big defensive stats. Scoring defense, 318th, okay, out of 350. Turnovers forced, 203rd. Defensive 3-point field goal percentage, 233rd in the country. And teams are shooting almost 34% from 3 against Syracuse. And their 3-point field goal percentage, by the way, they're 21st in the country. This is really good, right? And we know this. We know that they're good from behind the arc. And we know that they can light it up, and we know that they can score. But, it's in scoring offense overall for them, too, 44th. Coincidence? I doubt it. But that's where they are. So the 3 big defensive stats, man, those are the ones to keep an eye on. 318th in scoring defense. And it, coupled with the turnovers forced, obviously, this kind of go hand in hand a little bit. 203rd, just not good at all. So,
yeah, well, and that's what we talked about before is that we can score, but pretty much everyone can score against us. And there's other teams that if they can put pressure on us, can force the turnovers, and therefore, that's where they're going to get their little bit of a difference. And that's why we talk about how we can't be killed in rebounds and turnovers, and those have to be things that we keep close, and free throws and everything like that. They all got to be close or comparable to the other team because we need all those things to work. We definitely don't need, refs in another team's favor. When you get a game like yesterday, then it's pretty much almost like a situation where you feel like you have no chance.
All right. Well, it's time to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do at the end of every game. I ask for your thoughts on said game. You go there to Twitter and Facebook. Leave your thoughts. I'll read them. We'll sift through them, pick some out. Now, I will say that I had to take a picture of a post for thoughts on the game for Twitter. They would not post my thoughts on the game. Tweet. I have no clue. It said I already did it. It kept telling me that that's already posted, but it never posted. So anyways, I took a picture of it and whatever. It was, we did good. We did good enough on Facebook. I didn't need it, but it just pissed me off because I feel like, it's going to be the same stuff anyway. So it doesn't matter, but, let's start here. Hold on. Let's start with the Book of Faces here, and we will go with Nate. Lost a close game against a tough opponent. Refs were horrible again, but that seems to be the norm. Defense needs to tighten up, and they need to make more shots and close teams out down the stretch. Yeah, look, the refereeing this year, Joe, I don't remember complaining this much about refereeing, officiating, or anything like that. This much. Now, you and I keep our powder pretty dry on the officiating stuff. Unless it's something controversial or one call.
We try.
We do. We have in the past. I feel like it's very hard this year, though. Not every game, but like there's been a lot of games where we're like, what the hell is going on? And that's where you have more than once explained the difference in defensives and how, we've got to get hit shooting the ball, basically, to be fouled, right? So, closing out games. I don't know what to say. I don't have any words of wisdom for it. I mean, it's just got to get done. I feel like I just feel like they just tend to choke. I mean, it's like I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's the players being frustrated. I don't know if it's just in their head, but like the last 3 games, all winnable, lost for different reasons that you can look out throughout the game. It's almost not even about closing it out. It's about putting the full game together. The closing it out is because they're just good enough on offense to keep them that close, and they do give themselves a decent opportunity despite all of their mistakes that maybe they have made through the game, to be able to hang in there. Like that game yesterday, you didn't feel like that game should have been that close yesterday, right? As you're watching it, and you're like, oh, we're up by 2. It didn't feel right. It felt like we should be down by 6 or 8. So
yeah, no, that's how it felt. But it's because at the end of the game they were playing bad too. I mean, that whole end of the second half there. I mean, even with about 4 minutes to go, that they went up 4, and then we'd come back. Then they go up 4, and then eventually they started making mistakes, and that's when they stopped scoring. And like I said, we took the lead. Like I said, I don't look at it again. People can say what they want to say. I don't look at yesterday as choking, because the last 4 minutes of that game, we looked like the team that knew how to close it out. Like we've been there before, and we're going to not make the mistakes. We're just going to grind it out and get the W. And that's what we did, and we put ourselves in a position to win that game and do that. And all for it, like I said, in my opinion, that got taken away. I mean, there's no, I don't like, me better than as far as with refs and everything. Like, that I don't like blaming anything on the refs. And obviously, there's always going to be times in a game where you could have done things differently. And sure, we could have shot better. Our percentage wasn't great. There's a lot of players that missed a bunch of shots. But at the end of the day, we scratched and clawed and got gritty, and we put ourselves in a position to be up 2 and go to the free throw line with 13 seconds or 10 seconds. And I think that the ref missed the call and basically just put us in a position to, lose or go into overtime. And again, then you just go from there. And I know we can still win in overtime. But at the end of the day, to me, they took the game away from us there. We did everything. In my opinion, I don't look at it as choking when a ref takes the game away from you. It's just the way that I look at it. I mean, you can't just dive into someone's legs and try to knock the ball out of bounds. You know what I mean? And like, to me, that's a call that you either call the foul or you call it out on Wake Forest because you missed the foul, especially when you have time to go back and look at the screen or the monitor.
Yeah, well, that's
so
the thing.
to me, it's gonna be a game that got taken away from them. It's just,
okay.
They didn't lose that one yesterday, in my opinion. Yes, they could have done things to do better, but again, that's why you play a full 40 minutes, because you can make up for the mistakes that you made, and they did. And
they have made up for the mistakes that they've made in almost every game. I mean, even the Virginia game, 74-69. They didn't shoot bad in that game, and they scored. It's just that Virginia, they just could not miss. I mean, down the stretch, they just could not miss.
Right.
And Miami with the turnovers,
Miami misses a couple free throws like Wake Forest did down the end. And it's a completely different game.
And we hit a couple more. It's a completely different game. I mean, Jimmy doesn't airball one. That's the one.
Right.
So I mean, whatever. I'm just saying that they're not out there getting crushed. And I guess that's kind of what the frustrating thing is. I mean, let's be honest, right?
But I'm just saying, if a team's going to come out and play defense or force turnovers or hit their free throws or hit a big shot like Charlie Moore did, right? Like, then good for them. Kudos to them. You know what I mean? Just a team that made a play. Albeit maybe it's not a great percentage play, whatever, they made it, they beat us. But when the refs take the game away from you, I just feel some sort of way about it. And today and yesterday, I just felt really, really some sort of way.
The biggest margin of error for loss for Syracuse is 15 points. And that was against Colgate.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tim on Facebook, refs are not the problem. Unless Jesse learns how to stay out of foul trouble, we have zero chance of winning. I would disagree with that, but he needs to stay out of foul trouble. 0% chance is pushing it.
That's tough.
Yeah, absolutely, it's tough. But he was out for 9 minutes yesterday, and they still had a shot. 9 minutes left, so really he was out for the last 14 minutes of the game because of overtime.
Is that his whole comment?
No, why? You guys something to say?
I'm going to let you finish.
Okay. There are also no scoring threats coming off the bench, and our defense is not good. Watch the slow rotations and how many times we're beat down the floor getting back. Last but not least, Buddy is either reading his own press clippings or something else is affecting his game. I know they're guarding him closer, but something feels off. Well, I mean, silently, Buddy did score 17 points yesterday. I know that we always expect Buddy to be up in the 20s, but I mean, he did score 17 points, and Jimmy with the team high 21. So
yeah, no, and it's something too where there's something that goes to that, right? I think that everyone saw last year, and they're like, okay, this is going to be the Buddy that we get for this year, right. And especially the end of last year, right?
He went through the same thing after his COVID issue last year too. It lasted a month or two.
No, I know that, but what I'm saying is that he like took another step, hit a different stride when he hit like ACC NCAA tournament type around that area, right?
Yeah.
And that's when he kind of went off and he started. I mean, obviously people knew him, but now he's making the national stage. Now it's a bigger name, and this year coming into it, every single defense is doubling him, making other people beat them, because they don't want Buddy too. And then on top of that, once a player's known and preseason All-American, do you know what that does mentally to a player on the opposing end that's going to D him up man-to-man, especially considering that they probably throw fresh legs at people, 2-3 different guys, and they just switch them off and continue to just send fresh waves at him, knowing that he's going to play 38 to 40 minutes. And mentally, when you know that you're playing against a preseason All-American, you're all about, okay, I'm going to shut this guy down. So now you have guys that just are naturally going to try to shut down the preseason All-American. Well, he wasn't that last year. So it's naturally going to be more difficult for Buddy on offense, 100%. But as far as the refs go, the first part of his comment...
Refs are not the problem, he says.
Refs were a problem yesterday, but not for Jesse. So if he's saying refs aren't the problem as far as... if he's talking about Jesse getting into foul trouble, then I would agree. Jesse needs to get smarter.
He does.
There was definitely two yesterday where he definitely knew better. I mean, the one that he fouled out, and I know that some people didn't think that was. I mean,
you put yourself in that situation though.
He jumped up and he brought his hand down across him.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Just like when he got the ball taken from him, and then he came up and tried to, knock it out or something like that. He's trying to do too much when, he doesn't understand that just standing there and with your two hands straight up or jumping and going straight up and down is usually going to be enough to deter someone's shot. So, 2 or 3 of them yesterday were 100% on him, and he's got to be smarter than that. So I do agree with him when he's going to say that the refs aren't the problem with Jesse Edwards' foul trouble woes. He's got to obviously become a lot more aware of things he can and cannot do. But as far as yesterday, just like singling out yesterday's game and that Buddy play and Cole Swider getting fouled in overtime and a couple other times when Buddy, took it to the hole and nothing was called. Foul discrepancy or disparity was 21-11. I would say that yesterday there was definitely an issue with the refs.
I would say too, and I agree about Jesse. I mean, there was a couple, there was like an over the back, but when you look at it, and you've brought this point up before, like it's so easy to call it on Jesse, but dude, they were jumping over people. The Wake Forest was jumping over our guys for rebounds all day, all day. Yep. And I just don't understand how you don't call that. But Jesse, being as big as he is, just going up over someone, over their head trying to grab a rebound from behind, he's going to get called for that. It's very frustrating. And he did a really good job face-to-face offense, our face-to-face defense with his hands straight up. I almost made a comment on it. We did a live fan chat thing. Joe wasn't able to make it, but there was people in there and we were chatting and stuff. And I almost made a comment about how good Jesse was playing on defense straight up. And he really was. It was over the back stuff and that one reaching in one you're talking about. And then obviously you got to just give those 2 points up at the end, man. When there's 9 minutes left and you got 4 fouls. Yeah. So
you 100% just got to let him take that in.
Yeah. So anyways, all right, we are going to finish up fan feedback right after this. One more time, let's hear from the good folks over at the Spotify Green Room app. Look, go to your iOS or Android stores today. Download the app. It's free. All you need is a username, an email address, and a password to get in there. Follow us at Cuse Militia. Look, every once in a while, I'll have a question about, hey, what does it take? What do I need to start a podcast? Well, look. You can go big or you can go small to start out and see if you like it. The Spotify Green Room app is the best way to start and see if you like it. If you're in the Spotify Green Room app and you go to start a segment or go live, there's an option there for them to record your live segment, and they'll email it to you. You can upload that right to any podcast platform, and boom, that's it. That's all you need. So plug some headphones into your phone or your computer. Go to that. Actually, it's an app for the phone only. So go plug some headphones into the phone. You can do it right like that. You can follow other people. There's plenty of other things on there to do. It's a really, really great app. It works really good. It's not buggy at all. I've had zero problems using this app, and we use it all the time. So it's a really good way to get engaged and to do your own thing. If you want to start out small, it's a great way to start out. So go to your iOS or Android stores today. Download the app. All right. And hi to David and Joe in the green room app right now. I just checked. Sorry. Let's see. Yeah, David says ifs and buts for candy and nuts. Yeah, I agree. We don't have a Merry Christmas. I know. I totally agree. But we got to talk about it, right? Jesse knows what I'm talking about here. Jesse throws up, I don't know if he made this thing or not, but I'm going to, when I use it, I'm going to give him credit, and I saved it. So, Brian on Facebook, losing Jesse was monumental. It took away any threat of inside scoring, and they were able to focus on the outside shooters. The referees absolutely made multiple critical mistakes, and they seemed almost all to be against Syracuse. Now, Joe, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Obviously, we start talking before we get into fan feedback, which is we may switch this around. We may do fan feedback and then do the montage, just because we overlap so much with it. But
yeah,
that he brings up a good point. He does bring a good point about when Jesse's out and having no inside threat, and they're able to focus their attention elsewhere, because Jesse can tear it up inside. He does a pretty good job. Yesterday was a bad day for Jesse. It just was. I mean, let's see, what do you have? 6 points and 7 rebounds. So 2 steals and a block. But feeding Jesse the ball on the inside is just almost too easy sometimes. They started that way against Miami, and they really, really affected Miami to start in that first half. That's how Syracuse was able to get up so good, so easily. What were they up 18 or something like that at one point? So, yeah. But the referees, man, I just don't think the old guard deal. I don't know if it's that. I don't know what it is, man. But it's just something we're always going to be dealing with. But to Joe's point, I think Teddy Valentine, for whatever reason, it's always a problem. And that's why Syracuse fans can't stand him. I mean, if it was just a few of us, or if it was just a few times, it wouldn't be the TV Teddy joke. I mean, let's be honest. So I don't know. And like Joe said, Coach can't say anything. Coach is thinking it. He can't.
No, 100%.
Yeah, but he can't say it, right?
No, and again, he's going to be professional about it and say, we should have went up and we should have stopped him anyway. I mean, I was so mad, right? Like, I was so mad when they didn't call that when they went and had that dunk, like, and I know that you don't want to follow that guy there and stuff, but like, if I was Jimmy Boeheim, like, I don't know what I would have done to that Walton dude. I would not have let him dunk that. I would have made him make those 2 free throws, but who knows? I might have got a flagrant foul doing it or trying to stop him. But either way, they kept doing the same thing, the same pass. We couldn't stop it. That would not have been there, that baseline pass, if Jesse Edwards was in there. And to the point, the refs, and it's not even like the disparity alone, 21 fouls to 11 fouls, like that isn't enough. But like, you even see it when they try to like a makeup. They made like one makeup call where they like called a foul on that Kadeem Sy because he put 2 hands on. Like, when they do a makeup call, it's like, yeah, we'll get a foul on something that's like a little, it's not a shooting foul. It's not going to 1-and-1. It's not really helping. It's just, here's a makeup call versus, what he's talking about. You're talking about fouling Cole Sweater right on the arm while he airballed. Like, the reason why he airballed it, right?
Clear as day, yeah.
Clear as day. That's overtime, so we shouldn't even have been there. Then there was Buddy's whole thing, right? And then Jimmy's travel, which who knows? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But it just seems like to me, when we get fouls called on us, it's like, or bad calls called on us, it's taking the ball, you're taking points away from us, or and ones on the other team. Meanwhile, when we get fouls, it's like some ticky tack here, and then just take the ball out from the basket, you know? I mean, how many different times did we get an and one yesterday? Like,
I don't remember one.
And like I said,
I'm sure we got one, but I don't remember one.
Right. So there's a couple times I thought that Buddy probably could have gotten one. So at the end of the day, it just seems to me like not only does fouls matter and a disparity at 21 and 11 with them shooting 11 more free throws than us, but also just the fact that, like, how many and one calls did they get? You know, and then they get the call where the ball goes out of bounds on Buddy and they get the chance to tie, and they get the call where travel on Jimmy and a basket gets taken away, right? So it's like, how many points do these fouls actually like add up to, and what do they really mean, you know? And that's really when it comes down to the timely stuff is not only do we not get the calls in this situation, but we didn't get any of the timely calls.
At EJ62564 on Twitter, got to figure out how to close out games, but just one more example of the decade-long problem of the ACC officials giving SU less than fair treatment. On the road, it happens about 75% of the time. Either way, either it's orchestrated or the officials are that bad. I mean, that's a good point. It's kind of one or the other, right?
There's a lot of people that have been talking about that since we joined the ACC, and I was on board with that in football, especially a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. I remember. At Wood of Green, 21 for 20 fouls called, complete BS. We don't have to comment on these. I'm just throwing them out there. Also, also that call in the corner was off Walton. Horrible refs, but anytime I can watch Cuse is good. If it's close, even better. We don't suck. I mean, look, I don't think we suck. I think it's definitely a rough year. It's definitely there's definitely some things that need to work on. I gave the stats earlier. It's very important to, and I'll keep everybody posted on those. I'm going to be checking them every couple games or something. But those defensive stats I gave out tell the story of why we're sub 500 right now.
No, yeah, and some of those matter too. I mean, some of our opponents matter, right? I mean, when you look even at KenPom right now, he has us as of today ranked 70th. You know who's 82nd? Miami, because of their strength of schedule and because of what they've looked. So there's some people out there that still think that in a lot of analytics, we're still ranked higher and look better than some of these teams that have beat us. Obviously, 7-8 doesn't look as good as 13-3, and it's not going to help when it comes. Obviously, you need to get certain wins if you want to get to the tournament. But I'm telling you, our strength of schedule is going to be up there to where I don't think we're going to need, the 21-20 wins like people normally think they would do.
Yeah, I mean, that was a quad 1 loss against Wake Forest yesterday. Will it stay that way? I don't know, but it's probably not going to sink below a quad 2. It won't sink below a quad 2.
No.
Either way. So, and by the way, Joe, you usually are pretty good about giving that stat out. Where are we? We're like 8. We're like 1 something in the net right now, 104. And quad 1 games, by the way, Syracuse is 1-3. Quad 2, 1-2. Quad 3, 2-2, and quad 4, 3-1. So, that's something to keep an eye on going forward. And by the way, 104 is terrible. That is not.
104 is terrible, but we moved up 3 spots.
Okay. Jesse, refs were bad, but it doesn't matter because the team's worse. Jesse has been the only good story. And even he had a bad game. This team is depressing and hopeless. Like, if there is something good to take away outside of Jesse for next year, give us your optimistic spin because we're looking super bad. Also, I created a meme. Yes, he did create the meme. This is Jesse that created the meme, which I will share and give him credit for someday. Also, Syracuse has not been ranked since JG3 has joined the team. This is the longest unranked drought in Jim's career. We were going to be preseason ranked, but we lost Quincy Gadari and Mark. So, well, okay, fair enough, right? I don't know. Coincidence to me. I don't think, it has anything to do with Joe, but coincidence, right? The team is depressing, but not hopeless. I do feel a little hopeful. And I don't have an Jesse, looks good for next year. Give us your optimistic spin because we're looking super bad. I don't really have an optimistic spin other than next game. I mean, it's all about the next game. In this next game versus Pitt, guys, if we lost, I will join Jesse down in the dungeon for that. I don't see Syracuse losing to Pitt. Just to show my hand here before we get into the preview, but I just don't see it. So, with that said, the next 3 games at home, super important. Now, you're looking at Pitt, Florida State again, and then Clemson. So, Clemson not exactly lighting the world on fire. I think these are 3 more winnable games before we go to Cameron Indoor, and much needed. I think we need all 3 of these. So we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about that?
I mean, it's just one of those. We always do this. I mean, we've never been here, and I get it. But what if we go and we win the next 5 out of 6? And you're talking about now we're 12-9, and we're actually putting ourselves in a position to actually make a move to do something, right? All it takes is a little streak. To do something, we go on a streak and we do something good. And next 10 games we win 7. I mean, what are you looking at? 14-10, right? Or 14. I mean, you're still putting yourself in a position where our strength of schedule is we could be on the bubble. Not to mention it depends on what teams we beat. Because although I'm not counting it, I'm counting it already as a loss. You beat Duke at Duke, and that's kind of a game changer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely, but. That's a tall.
We got a ways to go.
That's
a tall
order.
Like you said, 1 game at a time.
Right, 1 game at a time. And so, Jesse, I guess that's my spin, man. That's my spin. There's just not enough. There's still plenty of games left before I become dark inside. Although, it's not easy, and I could see it coming. But there's still a lot of games left. So
and there's a lot of games before I start thinking about next year and who's returning to.
Yeah, at Oil Cuse. Our buddy, Captain Patrick. They can't play defense with those 2 guards at the top of the zone. They are too slow. Opponents easily drive. They can't cover the free throw line and can't get out to shooters fast enough. They also need a 4 that is more athletic who can rebound, right? And I mean, that's where we talked about this before. That's really where we miss Quincy a lot.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. So, yes, I totally agree with that. And obviously, Coach went for more of an offensive roster than defensive roster, obviously. And closing out on the 3-point line, is awful. Like I mentioned earlier, that where were we? We are 233rd in our 3-point field goal percentage on defense. So. It's terrible. So, yes, absolutely. So that is that. We appreciate all of you for joining us on the fan feedback end of things. We appreciate it. So let's talk about Tuesday, Joe. Let's get into this here. Syracuse is set to take on the Panthers this Tuesday at 7 o'clock. The game will be aired currently on ESPNU. The all-time series between Syracuse and Pitt sits at 73-46 in favor of the Orange. Syracuse had a 36-22 record against Pitt in the Big East. The 2 schools only met in the Big East tournament 5 times in 30 years. That's hard to believe. Of conference play in the Big East, with Syracuse going 4-1 against the Panthers, according to orangehoops.org. Syracuse is currently on a 2-game losing skid to the Panthers, but they won 7 in a row before that. Before those 2 losses, dating all the way back to 2016. Jim Boeheim is currently 5-2 versus Jeff Capel. In the last game last year, almost exactly a year ago, we lost to Pitt. At Pitt, 76-96, or 96-76 rather. Gerard, Boeheim, Dolezaj, Guerrier, and Griffin, your starting 5. Griffin with 28 points and Guerrier with 12 rebounds. The Panthers are currently 6-9, 1-3 in the ACC after pulling off a dramatic win versus Boston College yesterday. So they win that one. And losses to Louisville, Notre Dame. Their Virginia Tech game was postponed. And a loss to Virginia. It's worth noting a 1-point loss to Virginia, a 1-point loss to Notre Dame, a 3-point loss to Louisville, and a 2-point win over Boston College yesterday. So they have kept all of their conference games very close. Ken Pom has Pitt ranked 171st according to his analytics there, with an adjusted offense efficiency of 217th ranked, and adjusted defense efficiency rank of 140. So neither one of those jumping off the page, and which is why I think we can pull this thing off at home. Ken Pom is predicting a 77-66 win for the Orange. Pitt, their net ranking is 196. So this is a quad 4 home game for Syracuse. This is a must absolute win for Syracuse in the Dome this Tuesday, Joe. Yeah, that's the one thing that scares me when I kind of look at their schedule as well. They've had some bad games as far as some bad losses. A 16 point loss to Vanderbilt. Started out the season actually with a 15-point loss to the Citadel. Lost to West Virginia, Vanderbilt, UMBC, Minnesota. But as they've gone on, like you said, then they go to Virginia, they lose by 1. They go and they actually beat Colgate by 3, something that we couldn't do. Then they turn around and lose to Monmouth by 4, win 2 more games, beat St. John's. And then, like you said, I mean, they're 1-3 in the ACC, and in their 3 losses, they've lost by a combined 5 points, and then they beat BC by 2. So every single game that they've had in conference has been close, and like I said, they beat Colgate, we didn't. So you can say all the analytics and all the everything you want, and you can look at Ken Pomeroy, and we can look at Ken Pom and we could say, oh, they have, Pittsburgh is the 218th, offensive efficiency. They can't score against anybody. And I'm sure Syracuse's defense is just hold my beer because everybody can score against us, right? So it's going to be a situation where it's really all going to come down to how we shoot. We got to shoot a little bit better than what we did in Wake Forest. But if we go down and we play like we did in Wake Forest, then I think that we're going to be all right. This team, I mean, they had a mass exodus last year. When you talk about people transferring, Xavier Jackson transferred, Audis Toney transferred, Justin Champagne went to the NBA. So you're looking at a team that, on top of that, used the transfer portal to get one senior, Mohamedou Gai. I don't even know how to say that, but he's a 6'9". We'll go with that. 6'9", 210 senior from Stony Brook. So that's what they use the transfer portal on. And then when you look at everybody else, you got another guy, Jamarius Burton, who's a senior, and he went from Wichita State to Texas Tech to Pittsburgh this year. So you're looking at those 2 guys. They came through the transfer portal, and pretty much everyone else that plays has been at Pitt the whole time. The rest of the starters, Will Jeffries, John Hewley, and Femi Odukali. And all 3 of those guys are sophomores. They were recruited by Cable, and they're still trying to figure it out. But these guys were all just kind of low-level contributors, except for Odukali last year. He's averaged almost 12 points with those guys. I think he had a pretty good game against us last year. And then the other guy that got coming off a bench most of the time is a guard, 6-foot senior, Ezekidu. I'm not even going to attempt to say his first name. But every ACC box score that I've looked at, they really only have about 7 that come off the bench. And that's just the team that's just trying to figure it out. And it looks to me like they're just trying – it looks to me like they play tough. They got a couple good guys. Like I said, Hewley looks like – or Hugley he looks like a guy against Boston College. He hit 15 of 20 free throws. Had 32 points, 13 rebounds. He's 6'9", 240-pound sophomore. So he's got some size down low too. So, really, if Jesse just stays out of foul trouble and we can just play our average offense, then I think that we'll be okay here. But yeah, this would be a really, really bad loss. And I think finally this is going to be a situation where we're going to play one of the lower end teams in the conference, and we'll be able to kind of
get our W, break this 3-point loss, losing streak, and get back on track, especially at home, because we need it, man. We need it. And then, like you said, if we lose this is going to be tough to come back from.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal. I'm looking. I was hoping you were going to keep going, but I am looking for my damn sheet. Son of a gun. Anyways, yeah, we have to win this game. Okay, we have to win this game. And then you got Florida State coming in. I believe you got to win that one too. I mean, the realistic expectations here for me are to go 3-0 at the Dome, coming back home. And I think it's realistic. I mean, look, Clemson is going to be a little bit tougher, I think, but Florida State is not. They're not great, and we're at home, right? So, being that they did struggle scoring against us the first time, that's really what did it. Whatever. I'll take it. So, what are they in the ACC right now?
They're not the greatest.
2-2.
Just trying to figure it out, and I'm sure they're going to want to get a little bit of, revenge game too. So, and Pittsburgh also at the same time. I mean, they're missing some guys. I mean, I know I see Ethiel Horton's only played one game, and they got Nate Santos and Daniel Oladapo, who look like a decent amount of minutes too. But I don't know if they're fighting injury or COVID or what the deal is, but. From everything I've seen ACC play recently, who I spoke about were really the main guys. So again, it's the foul trouble down low, because that does look like they got a little bit of size and length down there. But and Capel, and the way he plays, they're going to play tough defense in your face. So
yeah, what's his nugget? Who was there from last year? Oh, that's
Semi
right.
Odukali?
Yeah, okay. Well, the big names. Jeffress, yeah, okay. But the big names are gone.
Yeah, and all the big names are gone, and you're pretty much you got two transfer portal guys, seniors, and you got three sophomores basically as your starters that you recruited and were true freshmen last year. So again, like I said, they've been getting better. But I just think, just like us, they lack certain things in their roster and in their depth that to where they kind of gotta tweak some things to kind of hide some weaknesses, And I think the same as us. So as long as these guys don't get hot, because it looks like they do. I mean, a bunch of players got over 30 3-pointers attempted. So looks to me like we're probably not gonna want to give everyone open shots, but at the same time, it looks like they score better at 2-pointers and 3-pointers, but it also doesn't look like it doesn't look like they're afraid to take them either. So we still got to be weary of that. So, and like you said, you're talking about we're not that great at covering, really stopping anybody from scoring, but especially from the 3-point line, right? And we're not that great at turning teams over. So we'll see how this young team with 2 new transfers handles the 2-3 zone and the way that we have our rotations. I believe that most likely, like some of these other teams, early they'll struggle. So I think, we really what we need to do is especially that's one thing that I don't think we've taken advantage of, or maybe we have, and then we just haven't gone with it. But like you saw against Miami, like some of these teams, like they just have new guys that haven't played against 2-3 zone, and it looks like they struggle for the first 10-15 minutes, and then all of a sudden they figure it out, and then it's just now all of a sudden it's easy to score, right? So I think we really need to take advantage of our offense in the beginning of the game, knowing that some of these teams might struggle to score and figure out how to beat our 2-3 zone,
Joe asks in the green room, he says, was Sidibe available yesterday? I imagine he was available, and I just don't know if that was a good situation to put him in. But I said to Joe, what about John Bull? I mean, I don't know. We talked about, and you heard Coach talk, I'm not trying to go back too much and do too much there, but you heard Coach talk about going small towards the end and using Jimmy. I'm not a coach. I don't know. It seemed like a terrible idea with some of the other options, though. So Sidibe did cross my mind, Joe, but Joe T. But I just don't think that was a situation to put him in. I imagine he's available to play, or who knows? Maybe who knows? Maybe he's got some soreness from practice. Maybe he wasn't available. So it's tough to say because that stuff's so hush-hush all the time. But anyway, Joe, predictions. Look, I got the extra -5 points, and I still lost. You almost nailed the score in reverse. Did you know that? Do you know how close you were? 70. You had 76-73 Cuse winning. And it was 77-74, obviously. So you were off by 2. It's a good job. It's a really good job in a basketball guess. So, all right. Since I went first last time, you go ahead.
No, you're just going to throw it on me. Huh?
Give us your diatribe.
All right. It ain't even a diatribe, really. When I sat back and looked at, I just don't even really understand. It looks to me like obviously they played tough, but this team is limited on offense.
Yes.
They just are. So when it comes down to it, I just don't see Pittsburgh being able to score with us. I would say that if Pittsburgh's defense looked a little bit better on paper, then I might be able to pick them. But us being at home and knowing that we should have won and pulled out this last game against Wake Forest, I just don't see a way. So I'm gonna go Syracuse with the W. And I'm gonna go Syracuse 80, Pittsburgh 69.
Okay, all right, that's good. All right, I've already written mine down, so I'm very close though. I got Syracuse winning, as I've already said, and like Joe mentioned, they're struggling to score. They're not putting up a ton of points. Even in their wins, they're 59, 63, 71, 59, 64, 69.
Yep. They're playing against better defenses, though.
Yeah, well, true, but I mean, I'm kind of doing a law of averages here. So, I think Syracuse knows they need this game. They can't lose this game. I'm sure they don't look it up, or maybe they do. I don't know. But a quad 4 game at home, can't lose. They need it bad. They're home. They're going for a 3-game streak at home, and don't have to worry about travel and all that stuff. I think that takes a lot off anybody. So hopefully that means something. Being able to stay home and practice and all that stuff for a good week and a half or so is going to be awesome. Well, let's see. What is it? When do they hit the road to go to Cameron? The 18th. So yeah, good 9 days, week and a half-ish, roughly. So anyway, I got Syracuse 78, Pitt 64. That's my guess. So I've been terrible. I was decent during football season, but basketball's tough. Yeah. And I've been terrible. So hopefully they can do it. Look, if they don't pull off a win against Pitt, all hell's gonna break loose.
Most likely.
So hopefully they do it. But look, keep the heads up, okay? It's easy to be upset. It's easy to be slightly negative. I mean, I think I was pretty negative on the last show. I was extremely pissed off after this loss. And it's been tough. It's been tough to watch. It's uncharted waters for Syracuse fans. Are we a little spoiled in that aspect? Maybe a little bit, but we always do have our struggles. It's never easy. And it's just in this year has just been really bad. We're going to have to get through, one game at a time and see what happens. But I'm not hitting the panic button yet. So,
no. And if any consolation, it's more of a situation when you look at it. If Miami is only 13-3 because of their non-conference, they just beat Duke, right?
Dude,
Wake Forest,
pretty good.
Wake Forest is a better team. Virginia is a team that traditionally plays us very, very well. Even when we've won, it's been very, very close, or we've came back by 16, in the second half or something like that, or gone into overtime. So we always struggle with Virginia. And Pitt's a rivalry. And when you look at Pitt, they played a close game at Louisville and a close game to Notre Dame. And Louisville and Notre Dame are looked at as, minus Duke and North Carolina, 2 of the top 4 or 5 better teams in the ACC. And everyone's saying Pittsburgh's the worst team. They just beat Boston College. Maybe it's Boston College. Is it Boston College? Is it Pittsburgh? I don't know. But you look at ACC play, and it looks like anybody can beat anybody on any day. So if there's any consolation, then that's really, it's not the ACC old where it's like, oh, well, you can just kind of count the top 6 or 7 in the ACC as losses, or, we're going to be underdogs every time. I mean, every game you've seen is kind of close, and that kind of keeps me positive, because that gives us a chance to pretty much win every game. I mean, there's not too many times since we've joined the ACC, if you look down the schedule and seen this many winnable games on the schedule, or games that I guess you wouldn't automatically count as a loss.
Right. So, all right, we thank all of you. Thanks to Joe and David up in the Spotify green room today. We appreciate for joining us in there. Look, if the games are ever on Yes, you know where to go. I'm going to try to stream all of these games that may be hard to get in Syracuse, so I'll always post those up. It was fun yesterday. I hope to do it again soon. Hopefully Joe can join us. Look, let's go Cuse. Got a good game at home to take care of some business, and hopefully they do. I think they will. So, for Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.